kind of like my gig. So
More of a photography person?
yeah, I like to, capture. When I was up there, when I was visiting my friend Rob, that's how I met you, is that I would come and take pictures of events with him and then try to tell a story about it. It's like the photojournalism piece of
That's
it. So
awesome.
you guys tell a story too. That's the point. You're taking a story and you're,
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and we'll get to this, but it's just so, what's central about what we do is the ability to have people in the same space. It's
yeah,
just kind of an irrefutable thing of the thing. And, and I think everyone's trying to find a way to get around that or to approximate it through, different communicative platforms like Zoom. And it's not the same thing, at all.
right.
Okay, well,
I'm worried about you guys. I'd be glad when you get back. I guess I'm sure you're thinking about what's next. It's like when Mayor Lightfoot lets the break off.
right. Well, we were very lucky. Over the last 5 years, the gift made some pretty strong strategic decisions in terms of limiting the amount of rehearsal weeks that we were
Mm,
kind of paying for, and we had a very luxurious kind of indulgent like 7-week process,
mm,
and it just wasn't even comparative to what people were doing in the city or in the country. And we weren't really seeing a return until like week 9 of a play. And how small the theater is. I mean,
yeah,
it's 40 seats,
tiny,
and
tiny. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so we were just like, why are we just fighting to live another season? We need to grow up. We need to look more towards a model that gives you an opportunity to grow. And so we shrunk the runs down. So
Mm,
if a play wasn't selling especially well, then after 6 weeks we were done with it, and we moved on to the next show. And we just hired our second uh, almost full-time employee this year. We have another full-time employee. We had just had our gala in February, so like all the kind of big fundraising activity of the
right.
theater had happened pre-COVID-19. So it was just a little mix of dumb luck and
Mm.
some good strategy.
Oh,
But let me introduce you and read this
okay.
kick-ass bio. So this is like, in the absence of us being able to meet in the theater, where there's a fourth wall always separating us, this is for us to, kind of take down the wall and just talk to the people who, love us and we love and who've been supporting us for years. So you're our first, and I think, as I said before, I don't think I've ever done an interview, so this will be a true disaster. Dr. Christa-Marie Singleton, MD, MPH, Senior Medical Advisor, Office of the Associate Director for Policy and Strategy, OADPS, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Christa is the Senior Medical Advisor in CDC's Office of the Associate Director for Policy and Strategy. In that role, she serves as the Senior Medical Advisor regarding planning with commercial insurer partners and physician providers for the CDC's 618 initiative, as well as collaborates with CDC divisions for evidence summaries. Prior to joining OHSC, Dr. Singleton was the Senior Medical Advisor in CDC's Division of State and Local Readiness, where she was the lead architect of CDC's public health preparedness capabilities, national standards for state and local planning, the nation's inaugural set of peer-reviewed and scientifically principled public health preparedness capabilities. And it gets cooler. Prior to joining CDC, Dr. Singleton was the Chief Medical Director for the Baltimore City Health Department's Office of Public Health Preparedness and Response, the Director of the Bureau of Disease Control at the Baltimore County Department of Health, and the Senior Analyst for Maternal and Child Health at the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials. She's worked nights and weekends. Was that?
That's a mouthful. Who wrote that
It,
crap? I need to find somebody who wrote that.
it's
But anyway,
it's intimidatingly impressive. She has worked nights and weekends as a pediatric physician. That's so crazy. I played a physician on television. Dr. Singleton has been recognized by the Thomas Jefferson University for excellence in ambulatory pediatrics, by the White House Fellowship Program as a 1997 national finalist, by the American Medical Association as an emerging leader, and received the 2011 Outstanding Scientific Award, Employee of the Year Award by the Atlanta Federal Executive Board. I don't see gift subscriber anywhere in that.
You know, I keep my
So
personal life out of my Fed life because, you know, they look for us Feds. So, you know.
yeah, well, so clearly you're one of the coolest people I've ever met, and so we were trying to figure out when that was, and so you said 2010.
2010. Because I went back, I have actually, there's a picture. Hold on a second. Hey, Matthew, bring that picture of my friend that's on the, my friend, I tell you who's the actor. Bring it here. Somebody took, I think we took a picture together and I have it on our bookcase. So you'll get a real laugh at this. This is when well, I was younger and better looking, less gray hair. You still look the same.
I see no grays.
Top. Yeah, that's it. Let's go. This.
Oh, wow.
So I have that, and then I have this.
Oh boy, I think you're gonna need.
That's
And
your
so
scratcher.
by
This was
that
2010.
point, and you were already in Atlanta.
Correct. But I was coming to Chicago because I have my friend Rob Walton. I think he might have worked for a press that maybe helped the gift at some point in time. But he and I are high school friends, and every summer I would come up to visit him just for giggles in Chicago. And we were like,
awesome.
oh, let's go see the play. And then we stumbled upon you guys. And ta-da!
Yeah, Rob was with the Silverman Group, who was our publicist. Yeah, he was great. And that play was, my God, it was one that kind of put us on the map all over again. But it was a tough play to do, that's for sure.
Well, it was twisted, and I've seen that one, and I remember seeing Dirty, and they're both kind of like that twisted spin to it, and so
and they're both by the same playwright too.
Yeah.
Andrew Hinderacher, our ensemble member. Andrew is writing. I was in Vancouver working with him. He's show running and executive producing a brand new show on Netflix called Away with Hilary Swank about the first trip to Mars, in which I play a doctor again. Yeah, play her psychologist.
Well, I have to, one of my high school buddies is a legal counsel for Netflix. So is this one on its way? So I have to tell her to remember to shout it out.
It is. I think in the fall.
Okay.
It should be here. So that was 2010. Do you remember the first time you saw the space and what your feeling was?
Yeah. It's like, well, this is small. When you say small, that was small, but it was cool because as a patron, you get to see, you're like this close to the performance. So that's what's cool about it. You feel like you're in the performance almost at times.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly miss that intimacy, I mean, there's really nothing like doing a play there because we can feel kind of every breath, every shift in the seat and react off that.
So that's what makes me worried about you moving forward is that, when you were reading off that horse manure about my life, that's one of the things I did in planning was planning for emergencies. And so my brain went back to, oh my God, how these guys, space is so tiny. How are they gonna reassure people that it's still cool to come and that we're not gonna get sick? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think, who knows however long it's going to take to get a vaccine. So, I mean, everyone seems to be kind of obsessing about the timeline for that. But in terms of, gifts, specific concerns, to your point, that's a whole other separate timeline after that of just the psychological willingness to be back in an intimate space.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what is it, 40 people? What's the...
Yeah, 40, if we really squeeze them in, we can get like 48 people in there,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do a social distance performance of like 5 people.
Or half. I mean, I guess I remember the chairs. So if you stack them, I guess that's not as fun. But then I guess, think about it. That's why I was sending you the one from the theater here that tape their shows. And so that's way for that subscribers could then pay to see the performance. And that's a way we could still support you from a distance.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're brainstorming some other ideas I think that are going to be super cool to share what we do with our audience, just not at the physical space for now.
Yeah.
But boy, things have changed pretty fast, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good Lord. Um, I have not left my condo since March 14th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Over a month, huh? So how do you get out? So does somebody bring you stuff, or does Lindsay go out, or?
Lindsay's been brave in the grocery store. My mom had stopped over in the yard, like 15 feet away, to drop off like dessert for Easter.
Mm,
And then our buddy Keith came over to the yard yesterday to drop off a bottle of wine because it was our wedding anniversary
that's
yesterday.
right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it feels like we kind of woke up in a dream, which has probably been a nightmare that you've been preparing for quite some time, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what's surreal to see. The plans that were written back in '09 actually come to life now, and to say I told you so, and I told you so. And it's annoying to see that, people kind of still turning a blind eye to it. But now my brain is going to what happens next. Okay,
Hmm.
so the new normal, what's the new normal going to look like? So that's why I was asking about. So the gift needs to go on. So how do you make it fit in the new normal? And so do you space it out? Do you reassure people that you're going to be Cloroxing the daylights out of that place?
Yeah, yeah. I think we definitely reach out and communicate what we're doing.
Mm,
I think it would also be helpful to have
mm.
some strong federal policy and clarity in place of like
Yeah,
of knowing who's been exposed, knowing who already had it, knowing who hasn't.
right.
Whether that's you get a red, green, blue kind of bracelet kind of idea of being able to know where people are in their health trajectory. But I mean, it changes everything, and definitely, large groups, sporting events, and I
Mhm.
think hyper intimate events like the
Right.
gift are going to be the last on, will be the caboose kind of on that train
Mhm.
of opening things up. Um, I mean, in some ways, it might be wise for us when we can produce again to find a larger space,
Yeah,
that we could spread people out in and hold on to the storefront for that time that's
classes
probably
or whatever.
longer down the road. Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
You need a big fat benefactor in my next life. Uh, gift
There we go.
gift you with a large space, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we have a space that we love that's down the street from us, and a lot more room than
Mm,
than we have now, which some closets do.
mm,
Um, so I don't know if it's accelerating the timeline on building that space out, um,
mm.
and that's going to change too because we had architectural plans for that space, but now you have to add in, I think, consider architectural considerations post COVID.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Because people will start talking about the air quality and all that other foolishness, so that the air circulates, so you don't have people worrying about if you breathe on somebody. But you need, to me, if you had a slightly bigger space, but still could have the intimate space, I guess,
Hmm.
that would be the ideal.
Absolutely. It's the Goldilocks story, really.
Yes, yes.
Um, were you always interested in theater?
No, I was always, like I said, the photography thing was well, I was a journalist, and I was kind of, now actually I was supposed to end up at Northwestern. I thought I could go to Northwestern because I wanted to be a journalism major, but I always knew I wanted to be a pediatrician since I was 11. So I thought I could merge the two spaces. And so it becomes this whole photo writing, telling a story. So the theater piece of it comes in, and because it's part of the art of telling a story. So that's where I get the kick from. So I was headed toward Northwestern, but being the good Catholic girl, I always had Notre Dame in my heart and was told, you'll never get into Notre Dame. And the same weekend I got into Notre Dame, I was actually headed to Northwestern. And it was like, so you go across, and stupid me, I thought, oh, it's too cold in Chicago. I'll go to South Bend. Duh. Same stupidity. And this is from a little girl from Georgia. But you live and learn. But yeah,
What's their quote at Notre Dame? Sex kills, so come to Notre Dame and live forever.
pretty much. But yeah, my connection to theater in high school was actually, I was part of I think I said about science people liking arts. So I was the music person. So I was always the music master. I played in the chorus. I mean, in the, the groups that kept the theater going. So we were keeping the music scripts together. But now I'm older, I like to take the pictures of it and film it and find like, how do you tell that story? But
Have you found that there's been that your life as someone who loves the arts and loves taking pictures and loves the storytelling of theater, that's helped you in your profession at all?
absolutely. Right. Because just I'm thinking like with this whole everything now is through the lens of COVID. So now if you're trying to talk to communities about wearing a mask, and we, the federal government, can say, wear the mask, but tell the story as to why, and then really what's in it for you, what's in it for your family. And so that's why I find storytelling to be fascinating. That's how we get, at least I try to do that. I think my experience in Baltimore, in like the hood, I worked in the hood of Baltimore. So you end up having to tell the story of why you should be prepared for an emergency. And it wasn't just get your 3 days of food. It's like, oh, well, what matters to you? And so if having a book matters to you, then you make sure you have that as your kit. If having, being able to connect with people such as they are in your little space, then that becomes part of your preparedness package. But you tell a story as to why it matters, and tell some kind of unique hook that gets to people, and they go, now I get your lesson.
Yeah.
Rather than just lecturing people. So
yeah, we always say that like since the beginning of time, like when human beings were first able to kind of huddle around a fire or scratch a painting out on a cave wall, that stories have been our way of reminding ourselves and reminding our tribe and our community, what makes us who we are, what our
right.
values are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're aspirational, right, of who we can be.
Right.
And yeah, my God, having a clear story now is more urgent than ever. Is there one story, bit of information that has not, been able to be clearly heard, that you would like to be heard?
Well, I mean, I guess even like now we talk about, we're all in this together, but what does that really mean? And that's what I've been kind of curious now, is what does that mean? And so, especially as it drags on early on, you kind of see the bell-shaped curve. So when this all started, everybody was in it for themselves. People were loading up the liquor cabinets, loading up the food pantries, whatever. And then as it goes on, okay, we're all in together. And now people are scratching and clawing, trying to get out the doors. So what does it really mean to be it's in all it together?
Right.
That's
I
might be
mean,
you guys write that story. I mean, it'd be kind of, because at least my experience and when I've come to the gift, all your stories have like a kind of slightly unexpected twist. It's like a weird angle. So what could it be to be, we're all in this together? That's what I charge you to figure that out. Come out with a weird story, maybe a lesson for us. What does it really mean?
I mean, it's a hell of a slogan, in some ways I think it's a good slogan, but it's also, pretty dualistic, right? Because yes, we are in a kind of literal sense that this is something that's affecting everybody, but it's not affecting everybody the same way.
Right.
The communities you served in Baltimore, for example, are having a very different experience than someone who's able to simply, hole up in a mansion in the Hollywood Hills in a
Right.
house that's as big as a mall and
Right.
be fine for 6 months. So we are and we aren't in this together, and that's a sad kind of truth that ought to be examined as well.
And that's a piece I'd like to kind of see it more played out. As my kid just came in the door, and I remind him about how we are very, very lucky. We live in a section of Atlanta that's, I guess, on the upperly mobile end. we have a roof over our head until this internet goes out tonight. We will, we have internet access. It's first world problems. My first world problem is whether or not the Zoom crashes, but there's kids in Atlanta in this group that don't even have access to that. One of the counties here, they've stopped giving out food but once a week. And so now you got kids in schools. So are we really in it together, or are you just in it because you got access? And so even the fact that I could drive to Atlanta to go buy margarita mix, but I feel somewhat guilty because there's people that don't even have pennies. But it's my attempt to, well, not so much I need my tequila, but I want to help out that business. So I knew that if I go and I buy $30 worth of margarita mix, that's $30 more than they probably would have had. So this is some tiny little piece that'll probably help that server. And while I'm waiting, I'm like, all right, that drink is usually $10, so let me tip you 30% because I have the means to do so. So it's like, but others aren't like that. I read these stories about people doing Instacart shopping,
Instacart,
and then they say they're going to tip you, but then they don't. That's just BS. But that's what
terrible.
I mean. Like, we're not playing this together.
Right, and exactly. And you see how dependent we are on each other.
Right.
For just that local community commerce to keep flowing, and when it stops, boy, everyone's left looking for a chair.
Right.
The local barbershop, the local restaurant, everyone's trying to pivot to figure out how to stay afloat.
All right. So what about your company? Because you've got your young actors or not so young actors that are.
Yeah, I mean, we are very lucky. I mean, we are at a budget level. The gift is about call it $500,000 a year annual operation. We run a pretty lean, tight ship. So in terms of just a financial exposure, cash flow problem, we're okay to hang in there and sort of bleed out for over a year. So that's one thing. The secondary question to me is, how do you take care of the emotional and imaginative health of the ensemble and of the subscribers? Because I think there's something kind of mysterious at work that is also a casualty, nowhere near comparable to the very real casualties of COVID. But one thing I think that's great about theater is that the audience gets to participate in it because it's live, and you're also, even though you're seeing this is how this character looks and this is how the lighting is, your imagination is being sparked, and to not have that piece of the human mind engaged on a nightly basis, I think is a different kind of loss. So what we're discussing is, well, how do we tap into that part of the brain and the psyche and be able to do that in a safe way? And
yeah, it's important because one of the health plans that I work with, when you read that horrible bio, I thought, wait a minute, all right. But I was thinking about one of the companies I work with is Humana, and they actually are really into social isolation. That's one of the things they're trying to improve. Now they're trying to really focus on seniors because they recognize that the more isolated these seniors are, then it spirals downward with their health. Okay, I'll grant that because I'm blessed to still have my 84-year-old mom. And she's 15 minutes down the road, so I can keep in touch with her so she won't be as lonely. But what about other people? And so how do you keep them so your art helps people maybe be as lonely, and they can connect to their piece, their story?
100%. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do through every play, is we're trying to say, we know it's hell out there. We know what you're going through is rough, but you're not alone. We've gone through some stuff too, and if we can do it, you could do it, and to try to make people feel a little less alone.
Yeah, because the social isolation then spirals downward of their health issues. So, I'm real focused on chronic diseases. Even though I'm a kid doctor by training, I look at heart disease and stroke and those emotional things that can stress your heart out even more. And so it's like, if you can work on improving their people's loneliness and their feeling and their connectedness, they call it community resilience, then
Right.
they thrive better.
But why couldn't you save me from my stroke, Krista?
Oh, no one really, do they really know what happened why yours happened? That's the
No.
fluke it, because you were in your 20s, right? Early 20s.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was so much fun, the first one, that about, maybe 5 weeks later, I had another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a stubborn SOB, though, that you came back, though.
This is correct.
Because others may not have had that. And that's kind of like I am always attracted to theater and to the arts, because I look for that as an analogy to help people get better. I use it to tell stories. So I will often quote lines from a particular musical or quote lines from a play. You know, my son now is learning Romeo and Juliet. And so there's certain pieces of that are like ingrained in our head. And so I'm telling him things that are from that. So it's a way to get inside your head, I guess.
I'm still astounded that play is taught so readily in high school, given how filthy dirty it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing now. How do I take my very innocent 14-year-old? I think there was like Act 1 scene. It's the when they go to the party. And I guess
Yeah.
and so, how do I explain to my, virginal ear 14-year-old, this is what they're really trying to say here.
Yeah, that Queen Mab speech, I'm like,
That's it. That's the one that he had to write about this. My kid goes to the ultra Catholic prep school that I went to, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. One of my first gigs in Chicago was doing daytime Shakespeare. And so we're doing like Romeo and Juliet at 10:30 in the morning. I'm playing Lord Capulet and the apothecary. And that Queen Mab speech, it didn't matter, how old those kids were, if they were tweeny teenagers, they got it. I mean, and that's so creepy that something written 400 years ago, these jokes that have puns that we don't even know what they mean. You know what they mean, and the teachers are looking around like, so funny.
Well, we'll see. I mean, unfortunately, they're learning at distance, but I have a feeling if he were in the classroom, I'm kind of curious how it would have played out in the classroom to see how they're doing it. Yeah. But I had him watch, you'll laugh, I had him watch the Leo, what is it, the one with Claire Danes and DiCaprio. Sure. I had him watch that version of it. I was like, and he goes, this is just like the book. And I'm like, yeah, pretty close. So it's a different spin on it, but.
Yeah. And he likes it. He likes Shakespeare.
Well, I don't know. This is his first foray in it, but at least seeing it on film, and then now I'm like, okay, now dissect this scene, and so let's use that scene as he reads the chapter, and that's okay. What happened in the movie? Now let's think about it. Like now the movie is taking a little bit of license, but at least it makes it connect with him. So it's kind of like what you guys do. It's like you take something and you can connect to people.
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about the survivability of a storyteller. I mean, this guy's been tapping into those eternal things, and that's one of the reasons that we're still producing them.
That is true. That's true.
So
what is next for you guys? So let's say they open up the, Rob calls Mayor Lightfoot the mom you guys all needed. So let's say the tests come in and they free up the gates in the fall. And let's say then what?
Well, I mean, what we've done is we were supposed to have a show open up in the summer, so we've slid the entire season back. So that second show is now going to be in the third slot, and that third show will be in the first slot of 2021. But I think if it was opened up by some miracle fast and vaccine was readily available, and even if the public felt super calm and willing to go back into small rooms, I think it is a storytelling issue of reminding people kind of what we went through, what the gift is, what our values are. We believe in telling love stories. We believe in being pioneering. We believe in ensemble. And, one thing that this has really driven home is that the ensemble includes our subscribers, you know, and if you can't meet in the theater, we can do this. And that definition of ensemble should always be interrogated, and it should always be expanded.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing now. And you know, when it's safe to come back, you know, we'll be there. And in the meantime, we'll keep growing together, both as an ensemble and as a community.
Right. And I think, unfortunately, with this one, I have a buddy in St. Louis that he and I trained in medical school together. And I said, you know, there's going to be a second wave. And he's like, well, what's the inside story? I'm like, I don't know when the second wave is going to be, but there's going to be a second wave. So this is actually a good practice. It's a good rehearsal for your next.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it probably doesn't help that the beaches were open in Jacksonville yesterday.
Yeah, well, how cold is it in Chicago right now?
It's actually pretty nice. Lindsay's on the porch right now. It's yesterday was terrible, but it's actually pretty nice. You know?
Like you don't have snow, like Minnesota had snow, I think, right? Or
we had snow. I woke up super early the other day, and it was like Christmas morning. It's like beautiful fat snowflakes coming down the yard, and then did some writing at the kitchen table, and then hours later came out and it was just green grass. Snow was gone. Very surreal day.
Well, that is what I remember that being when I was in South Bend. Remember that's how it would be. Yeah, come April, because I think the year that I went up there is 1983. It snowed in April, and I know a kid from Georgia never seen snow in April, but you guys have snow in April, so.
I think it was 2 years ago. It was 60 degrees and 6 degrees in the same week.
Wow.
And that's what, you know, that really separated the true Chicagoans from, because I think after that, some people were just like, I'm done.
I'm
you
done.
know, why are we living here? It's time to go to Arizona.
I lived for a while, because I went from Atlanta to South Bend, from South Bend to Kentucky, and Kentucky to DC, and then DC to Maryland, so I could stand it. But when the kid was born in 2006 and I moved home, I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done. I can't leave a coat. No.
Where in Kentucky were you?
Louisville.
Oh yeah. I love that town.
Yeah. It's a good place.
It's really cool. I did our production of Our Town at Actors Theater there. Just had a blast. Had a blast. Never drank bourbon before I went to Louisville.
And I still never got it. Now, I did like my Derby pie, which is the pie they make with bourbon. It's like a chocolate pecan with bourbon, and they serve it around the Derby time. So.
Yeah, what a cool. Where in Louisville were you based?
Downtown. Actually, the medical school is downtown by the hospital, Humana Hospital, but I lived near Churchill Downs.
Oh, cool.
Old Louisville, because actually they had, so now you're triggering my theater memory, they had a production in the summers, and that's where my buddies and I would go spend our summers in one of the parks, and they would do Shakespeare in the park.
Sure.
Hang out.
It was really weird when we were there because we were doing a production of Our Town that was very, very modern. Like the stage was basically blank. We sort of wore clothes that were close to like what we wore the first day of rehearsal. But yet the entire city was transformed in anticipation for Christmas. And so the hotel that we were at, like all the employees were dressed like elves in a way. And we were doing an insane number of plays per week. I think one week we did 12 plays, which is nuts. Like you never do that. And so this weird experience was happening in Louisville where being on stage felt more normal than being in the real world, because the real world looked theatrical and the theatrical world looked real. And then we had some really kind of creepy like ghost stories happen at the Galt House that
The Galt House. I remember
we
that
will
place.
never be staying there again. Because there's the part of the hotel that's like it's been renovated. It's nice. And then there's the part of the hotel that the theater has a relationship with the hotel to do artist housing in, which is the more like Shining version of the hotel. Where like you open the door and you're like, and we're in 1973, and here we go.
Wow. Wow.
But what a cool city though, and I
Yeah,
just love it.
it is a good time. I haven't been back in years, but yeah, it's a special place. You know, the Derby is a big deal for me because I went from the Derby to the Preakness, and that's a good time. A good time. When you weren't there, luckily you weren't there. Was it the last half of April, first part of May? It's nuts there, but
No, I'd like to go back though. Are you seeing any fun theater in Atlanta?
not since we all got shut down. But I'm kind of interested. My husband is more of a musician type. Well, he's a huge Grateful Dead fan. So what I'm always kind of curious now is um, theater productions that have a musical spin to them. So we're kind of curious how do you tell because those guys are really good storytellers, the Dead. I've now become appreciative of the Dead. I'm not a fan yet, but they do tell a story in some of their works. So.
You're a conditional Deadhead?
Yes, but that would be probably more accurate.
There you go. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight and just hanging out and shooting the shit, you know. And thank you so much for supporting us and being in our corner. And
I remember when you asked about doing this, it triggered like, well, when did we meet? And I definitely remember those plays. And I think that play Dirty really, the way it ended or moved to the end after the young lady, I guess, I did the porn act or whatever, and just the way I'm still like chilled. I mean, it chilled. Her performance was just, it got to me. Like, wow, if you know how naive someone could be, and you say, I got this. And it reminds me of kind of like kids today, like, I got this. And then you get the, the crap shaken out of you. What happens? So.
And that actor has gone on to do some really cool work on TV too, Mausa Makar. And the actress who played her sister, Atra Asdu, was at Second City and is just absolutely hilarious. So that was, those were two. And I was still doing private practice, I want to say, when Suicide Incorporated was running. That's correct, actually, because they had wanted me to go back for my second season, and I was doing that play, and I really enjoyed doing that play, and kind of was caught between two worlds for a little bit there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what the end of Dirty is about, you know. Andrew's going to be thrilled to hear this, by the way.
That someone still remembers this story. I know I do. I kind of associate you and those stories and you and the what you guys do there, but they stick with you. At least that's what I feel like the gift. That's why I think even though I don't get to come up, it's more because when I met you guys and seeing Rob, I was single, and then I remarried. Like kind of like the calamity of my dad got sick. We had Alzheimer's, and he got sick. He had his final stroke. He died in 12. And then out of life happens. And I met now my husband, Brett, right shortly thereafter. And then, so our life has been down here. So I don't get to Chicago as much anymore. And I miss coming up. But I said, from a distance, I feel like it was enough. It changed my view of the world so much that I feel like I still got to stay connected. So that's why until last year I was writing my check. So I will write my check again. And I want you to, if you could come up with creative ways to, like cool stuff like this. And so that's why I kind of nudged you with what the Alliance Theater is doing here.
Yeah, we are on it.
To have a way that we could still support you and still see it, even though we're not touching it like we were, that would be cool. Because people need I'd rather listen to that than sometimes, reality TV. Although, trust me, I do like my reality TV.
Did you watch this thing on Netflix with the people in the room who they get married without seeing each other?
Is it on Netflix? I saw that one. I saw one series where they just got met. It was like Married at First Sight. I saw that one. I haven't seen.
Love is Blind, I think it's called on Netflix.
I'll have to see
Oof.
that one.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, my
Yikes.
girlfriend works like I said, she's been nudging us. The last thing I saw on Netflix was I can't remember the story. It's a story about someone from Memphis or something, but it's a young black male who wants to be a wine into the wine business, but he's being pulled by his family to take over the family barbecue business. And so it's an interesting story, like the two worlds of you support your family, but you want to learn these other things. So it's got Niecy Nash in it, and Courtney B. Vance, and
Oh yeah.
some other big names. But you're telling that story of how do you separate and how do you come to terms with your destiny and your family.
Yeah.
That was my
It's the scientists and the artists who are getting us through this time. That's for sure.
yeah. Well, again, it's telling the story because I saw this whole stuff about the masks. And that's why I'm connected to the craziness that's going on at CDC, but I'm not connected. So I'm in the policy side. So we'll help people think through some of these issues. But my love now is the private sector. How do they think through? So when you buzzed me up a month ago and said, hey, what do we do? I'm like, well, I can tell you what I think based on living this BS 10 years ago, but I'm not the official voice of CDC. But now watching this through, so I worry about businesses. How do you stay afloat so that you can keep the economy going? And so I'm trying to think through those plans, but maybe this, and how do you tell stories? But my point being is that people in our agency wrote down, oh, well, you should wear a mask. Okay, well, but how's that going to affect certain communities? Like my brother is telling me, I need a black mask. Fred, why do you need a black mask? Because it'll go with my brother's a pilot with Delta, and he doesn't want to wear a white mask. But they were also talking about how for people of color wearing a mask, yeah, you're gonna get shot. So nobody thought that. I'm like, how do you not think this stuff through? How do you tell that story? So I'm always looking for creative ways. And so if I hear a great play or a great song and I get a quote from it, I'm gonna spin it to use it to tell my story and to tell the community story. So I
We'll send
need
you.
you to give me more cool plays so I can take lines from them and tell the
All
story.
right. They're on their way. I promise. Well, I think,
You need to come south too. Bring the give it. Well,
I'd love
you need
to.
to come south.
I
You
would
and
love
Lindsay
to.
need to come down here. There's some southern beverages.
I would love that. I think, the gift has been a company based on intimacy. And so if we can't kind of meet in an intimate space, then what's exciting to me about the challenge of this moment is, well, then how do you redefine that word? And to me, there's nothing more intimate than the human voice, right? And so I think you're going to be seeing some fun content from us that is theatrical, is dramatic, has some lines you can use, and still gives you the feeling of something real and something beautiful happening in an intimate way. Just protects you physically for now from not being at the space.
Yeah. So we don't want to have these bad dreams. I hear when people are stressed. If maybe what you all do could help decrease people's stress, because I've heard of these crazy dreams people have that are associated
Yeah.
to your stress level going up. So,
It's weird. I think like my dreams have been crazy lately. And I think, the scariest thing I ever went through in my life was being on a ventilator.
oh
And I
yeah.
remember, I remember it. And I remember being in a medically induced coma. I was out for 2 days. I remember it feeling like a big, dark, cavernous room, almost like a White House level kind of level of expanse. Knowing stuff was happening outside that room, being able to hear it a little bit, but also hearing the sound of that ventilator.
Wow.
And and that's something that I had panic attacks for years after I got sick, and then they kind of went away from doing theater, really, from being able to tell stories about being afraid. And so all you heard was ventilator, ventilator, ventilator. And I think I probably felt very calm on the outside, but in my dreams, that's where it was being worked out. So, so I would love it if we could, if the gift could put out some stories that that make people feel, less alone, less afraid, because yeah, they're scary times.
Yeah, and the stress will get worse. So I need you to bring people stressed out.
All right, we're on it.
All right, we're on it. So cool. Well, if I can help, since I hopefully this will help you in some way. Remember, you have friends. I'm probably one of your furthest away supporters, but
oh, I talk about you all the time. I said, we have a subscriber now. I say, and she flies up from Atlanta just to see the gift shows, which it's a little bit of a stretch, but we'll take it. Print the myth.
No, that's true, because if I'm planning my thoughts, so like I actually had a conference that was slated to be in Chicago, and that's the first thing I do to see, are you guys are you doing a show during that time period? And then to try to figure out how am I going to get from downtown Chicago, out to Jefferson Park, but
yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's a 10-minute ride. It's not when there's a train station right down the street.
No, true, but those of us who aren't, you live in a city with real mass transit. Atlanta does not have that, so I have to think ahead.
Right. Well, we miss you.
Yes, likewise. Well, tell Lindsay hello. Tell your mom hello.
I will.
I've met your mom through email. So.
Yeah, it's her birthday tomorrow.
Yay! Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, this is great seeing you, and thanks for all the work you do and being yourself, and we'll get through it.
Yeah, well, let us know next time you're on the big. So your next time we see you on the big screen or small screen is the fall, whenever this Netflix thing comes out.
It should be, yeah. I mean, those decisions are way above my pay grade, but it's called Away, and it's on Netflix, and it's with Hilary Swank. And the writer of Dirty and Suicide Incorporated is the writer of that story as well.
Wow. All right. I will definitely. I'll tell my girl Lisa to check it out. So she'll get a kick to say, hey, I know somebody connected to that piece of it. You're not the only one with connections.
Hell yeah. All right. Will you stay safe? Keep up the good work.
I will do that. Right. I'm going to go finish my tequila.
Go do it. You deserve it.
Very cool. Love you guys.
Love you too. Have a good night.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye.